Hey guys, in a game here with Curator. He's one of my favorite heroes just because he really enables you to play a lot of the scam comps out of the bag just with his hero power. He has the hero power where you get a amalgam unit to start the game, and with this, it has Venom on it, and you can kind of just give it a lot of effects because it has all tribes. It can be enabled by a lot of the other scam units to start with, and really, it's a unit that you never really end up wanting to sell. Some of the popular ways that you want to make it so it's a better scam card is giving it something like Reborn, using the Scarab or the like prosthetic hand. And then you can also try to find some ways to like resummon it during combat. And some of the common ways to do that would be with something like Kangors. You can also use the Cultist Sithara. Um, yeah, those are kind of the main resummoning ways that I can think of. But we ended up having a kind of interesting game here where we ended up selling off most of our board and having a weird decision of if we wanted to sell off the amalgam or if we wanted to slow our scaling. And that was mostly kind of based off of what ended up being our lesser trinket selection. For the lesser trinkets in this game, the first choice was Kaboom Bot Portrait. Ended up not taking this just pretty easily because we weren't enabled to play Kaboom Bots. We didn't have like a McCall on our board to proc it an extra time. We didn't already have a Kaboom Bot. We didn't have like a Reborn. We didn't have a easy way to trigger that Kaboom Bot from the start. The next option was Burgling Claw. I actually probably overvalue it a little bit compared to some other people. I kind of normally limit taking it to if there's like a Phelan or a Galakron in the lobby, or if it's like a really good Battlecry lobby, if there's a Bran. And the main reason for that is like they'll be you really like you want to make sure you actually get a really good minion when you take this trinket early. And if you don't have those hero selections, like it's just kind of unlucky. The next option was Yogg Pastry. This is another meta trinket. It's okay to stabilize, but sometimes it can just screw you over with the Tavern spell, so I try to limit how often I take it. Really, I wanted to use this as a kind of a chance to try out Training Certificate again. With the changes to a gem being removed in the game, at least temporarily, dragons have kind of come back as one of the stronger comps to play. I think this might be my second or third video in a row that features some type of dragon board using like a different synergy. And Training Certificate, really, the enabling way to play this is you just need to have a Terragosa on your board. And then the best way to play this is you'll get a second Terragosa when rolling down on 6. And then you could, normally on your board, you would just play 2 Terragosas and have them exponentially scaling every turn. And this kind of got us into this weird spot where we had to make the selection, do we keep the amalgam or not? By keeping the amalgam, eventually we'll get to a point where only 1 Terragosa scales every turn. My thought process is that's probably good enough. Really, the way you want to end up playing this comp is you have the 2 Terragosas, you scale up, you kind of want to power level to Tavern Tier 5, and then from Tavern Tier 5, you want to get some of the scam units, and we'll talk that a little bit. But, so next we had our Greater Trinket selection. This one was a little more straightforward. The first option was Bob's Tip Jar. This is kind of just like a safe pick no matter what's going on. Next option was Brand Portrait. We're just not playing a brand comp. It's not even really a brand lobby. Next option was Devour Sticker. Honestly, this is just bad. The only thing we could do with this is eventually eat the Terragosas and put it on something else, but like, why? And then finally, the one that gave us an interesting play was Alliance Keychain. And this gave us a little bit of payoff for scaling the amalgam during the combats, because what would happen is the amalgam we were buffing with just other stat buffs, and those were getting doubled, and then we essentially were able to guarantee in this mid game that all the buffs would go over to our Terragosa. And this just gave us a really good stabilize as we were Tavern Tiering up. So next on Tavern Tier 5, this is where we start finding like our actual scam units. Essentially what you want to do here is you either want to just play your like 3 minion board, or ideally you're only playing a 2 minion board. But what you'll do is you'll start buying potential scam units until you have a solid like minions that you want to play and you're no longer needing to scale. Generally, what you'll do is you'll keep doing this until you're at least like below 15 health, or if you're in a like top 4 situation where you can lose. And the other thing is you probably want to start swapping over maybe a turn early. And the reason for that is eventually you want to find an Amber Guardian and put the Divine Shield on your Terragosas. But what you end up wanting to try and do is get a bunch of ways to copy the Terragosas, and one of the easy ways to do that is with the new Chameleon Beast. And this is actually something I kind of overlooked when I was doing predictions, is I didn't see how this would be a good card, and this comp really, or a game really shows a really good use of that Chameleon card. Of what you can do is just play a bunch of scam units, a bunch of like utility hit units, and copy over the Terragosas into a new minion. And essentially all that scaling that we did during the game, we just got extra copies of it in the late game. So what you end up having your late game board for this is you want to have two Terragosas that you previously gave Divine Shield. I think we started the Divine Shields around turn 14 when we got to the top 4, and that kind of made it so when we get into a top 2 situation, we could sell the Amber Guardian and play a better unit there. And so the final board, you end up wanting to have the 2 Divine Shield Terragosas. You would play 2 of the Chameleons. Because we're Curator, we would have that Reborn Amalgam. And then you need kind of one unit that ends up being like a Chameleon enabler, because the Chameleon requires Avenge 5. If you're playing, 2 Chameleons, 2 Terragosas, you need at least one minion that can proc a couple deaths. So I end up using the Mecha Horse in that. You can use a bunch of minions. Like, you really just need 3 deaths from it to be doing its thing. And then from there, you can just kind of do your scam unit of choice. I end up using Leroy just because that was what I was found. But, you could potentially use any of the Murloc Venoms. You could potentially, if you're going against a bunch of like mech Divine Shields, just do another like Reborn Death like summoning unit to just proc more Divine Shields. But yeah, so this ended up being a really fun game. Got to see like this comp actually pop off. Honestly, this comp normally, like, I feel like it either goes like too slow or you level up too slowly and don't find like good units, and you're kind of trapped in playing just like a bunch of bad Terragosas. And really, this is kind of, I think, the optimal way to play it is kind of just that, like, 2 Terragosa, 2 Chameleon, and then 3, like, utility scam units on top of that. So, anyways, hopefully this is a comp that you can kind of learn. You kind of know when you can actually go and play this comp. This isn't a comp that, like, you want to roll down for your first Terragosa. You really need to guarantee have that first Terragosa to even, like, think about playing this, because it just becomes such a risk if you don't hit. And it really also is a thing that you don't necessarily even want to do with Poet. I think Persistent Poet, honestly, because like you need 2 Persistent Poets then, or else like your Poet will end up being your smallest unit every turn, and you'll just fall behind that way. So really, this is kind of the only way to play this, in my opinion, is what we did, where you just buff the Terragosa early, switch to Scam once you get enough stats. I generally try to get to like right around 1,000 stats. You'll see in our last fight, like, we were just barely there. I think if we went one turn longer, our stats probably would have been a little bit low, but I think, like, maybe one more turn of scaling would have been optimal. I think we, like, potentially could have had one more turn with the Amber Guardian on the board, but, part of it's also, like, how much do you want to risk it? Like, would you even be that mad playing this and getting a second? So, anyways, hopefully this helps. Good luck on your guys' climb. Hopefully this is something you can try. See ya. Bye.
I don't really know what comes next. I'm just doing my best, even though I'm so stressed out. Everything just feels like a test that I fail, so depressed when I can't seem to get